Hello everyone! Welcome to D&D News. How's it going? I'm Greg Tito, and I'm here to drop some Dungeons & Dragons news bombs onto your feeds. How's it going? I've been watching the chat. You guys are all talking about clones and doppelgangers. I think someone said Clone Wars when they meant to say, no, they said Cone Wars when they meant to say Cologne Wars, and that's you, Kyling121. God, you almost got it. You nailed it. It's this close, but now I want to see Cone Wars, which will be that joke game from Parks and Recreation where there's the cones. What was that called? Something for cone heads? Oh, it was amazing. It was good stuff. And then you, Dilligan Gaffern, you put the blame Tito right before we were ready to go on. It's almost like you knew. You had this sixth sense that my presence would be there. Yes, a cone of Cold Wars. Oh, I like that even better, where everyone is just chilly all of the time. Good on you, fat, yeah. And oh, yes, thank you for subscribing. Almost Mad Matthias 665. Woot, indeed. Woot to you, sir. You are a good person. So how is it going on this fine Tuesday? You guys getting ready for Dice Camera Action dropping in just about 27 minutes? That's right, I can do quick arithmetic in my head because I'm a D&D player. That's the only thing I can do. As soon as it starts to get to multiplying and dividing and fractions, hoo boy, don't talk to me about fractions. My kids are gonna, now it's all Common Core stuff, so I don't even understand most of it anymore, which is good because I don't understand fractions. How do they work? I don't know, they're like magnets. Anywho, we've got lots of fun stuff to talk about for what's going on in the Dungeons & Dragons world before we get to the Waffle Crew and all that's been going on. I'm happy that Bag of Nails is riding off into the sunset with the Acquisitions Incorporated, what's that called, airship off into the sunset. I love that, and there is definitely a part of me that wants Matthew Lillard's character to start picking up other major guests of Dice Camera Action and or some guest performers to make it like this little spin-off show. I just think that's endlessly hilarious, and I want it to happen. And I'm going to be emailing Matt about that just this evening. I think that's on my docket of things to do after we do this. But I have lots of fun stuff to show you. I'm going to start with something that has been in stores for a while, but we really want to make sure you guys were aware of it. For those of you who might be jumping into Tomb of Annihilation, this is a really cool set of maps that our partner, Gale Force 9, created. They are made of vinyl. Let me make sure I got it the right direction. Yeah, there you go. These are the maps that are provided in the Tomb of Annihilation adventure. This one is the player map that will be given out to folks at the beginning of the campaign, and then you can mark in things that you've discovered, things that are going on. They're very cool. It uses the artwork of the maps. They're by cartographer Mike Schley, I believe. So that's pretty cool. They're really good maps, and I think recreating them in this kind of playmat type situation is awesome. It is a vinyl thing, so you can do wet erase or dry erase as your erase preferences may run. Here is also what the Lost City of Omou looks like. So this is basically just taking the artwork that's in the book itself, it blows it up to a decent size, puts it on some vinyl mat that you can use to give to your players and or maybe give to your dungeon master if you're a kind person that you can throw out and have them be a big part of it. So that was Omou. Here's Port Nyanzaru. So these are great, especially at the beginning of a campaign, to really give. I mean, I love maps. I'm just a map person in general, but being able to throw this out and be like, here, this is what it looks like. This is a map that you might have even gotten from a merchant in Waterdeep or your patron, Lysindra? Is that what her name is at the beginning of Tomb of Annihilation that sends you in the teleport spell? Valindra? No, that's Valindra's Shadow Mantle. I'm blanking on her name. But yeah, I could see that she could provide this to your players as being like, okay, this is the known city of Port Nyanzaru, what's going on there, and then of course you can change it up. And I don't want to show this for too long because it is spoilery heavy, but this is the Dungeon Master map, so you can keep that behind your screen if you're into that. Or you can show it to them after things have been discovered, but then there's all the locations and things so that you guys can have the player map in the front of the situation and in full display, and then you can yourself have that in the back, and you can make your own notes on that as a Dungeon Master. I think that's a pretty cool thing. These are in-game stores now. It is called the Tomb of Annihilation set. Again, it's from Gale Force 9. If you are not seeing them in your local store, make sure you let them know that these are available from Gale Force 9 and to get them to stock them and make that happen. Cool. We got Trevor Kidd here on the DJ booth slash the Twitch machine. I don't know, what do we call it? The Wirecast machine that's making things happen. So thank you for that. Yes, it was a joke. I know you're not actually going to screen cap it and use it to spoil their game. I have more confidence in you guys out there that you would do something like that. But yes, you could look it up if you really, really wanted to. The book has been out for 4 months. And I don't worry about spoilers too much. I just like to throw that out there. I know there is definitely the idea that it is a narrative story and you don't want to give away the end. I get that. But, you know, when we're talking about story as a big selling point for what Dungeons & Dragons is, and I think that is a big selling point for it, you can't really talk about how cool the story is without talking about how cool the story is. So we like to get that out there for all of y'all to enjoy, assuming, you know, a lot of you are dungeon masters anyway and you want to be able to have those things at your disposal at any given moment. So PAX South happened over the... We don't have any new minis. Sorry, Zeno dude. I totally just switched up into that and made Trevor upset. Yeah, no, there's new minis coming down the pipe very soon, but I will show them off as soon as we get them here in the office. There is a lot of cool, fun stuff. And Slit 518, I get it. You were talking to him about not being a joke, but hey, I just like involving you guys because you are my people. It makes total sense. Yes, that was Meta Greg. That's me. And thank you for Stig's Vanu cousin for gifting a sub. I don't know if you guys can see that in the chat, but it happened. There is gifting happening right now, and I'm a big proponent of that. It makes good stuff. I like that. I loved it. It's like basically a virtual hug I just witnessed in the chat. Good stuff. All right, so yes, PAX South, Acquisitions Incorporated happened this weekend. It was a good time was had by all. I can't say that I watched all of it in its full detail, but I got the gist from Chris Perkins after the fact, and I loved that they ended up here in the Wizards of the Coast offices. How's that for meta? Chris said he had wanted to do all these fun in-jokes for people only in the office if they'd get them, but he resisted that and went for more broader comedy, which, you know, is pretty cool, but I would have loved to have got a shout out to being like, oh, there's Greg Tito being a jerk over in the corner, or there he is eating lots of chicken chili in a meeting and excusing himself. What? What am I talking about? I don't know. Butterscotch Paradox, yes, this is the Lady of Pain. She brings it. She brings it. This is from Planescape, if you guys didn't know that. This was the sigil, hey, like that. The symbol for Sigil's ruler, the Lady of Pain, which we learned about, or I learned about in way more detail than I ever did before in a Lore You Should Know segment on the D&D podcast, Dragon Talk, just a few months ago. It is a good stuff, and if you haven't played through the Planescape Torment, I suggest you check out the Enhanced Edition, which is available from Beamdog. It's on Steam. It's a great game. It's a bit old. It's in, it's 19 years old at this point, but it holds up really well. The writing is solid. We had Chris Avalon and Philip Daigle. Chris Avalon was the writer, pretty much the sole writer behind Planescape Torment, back when you could have a video game that only had one writer on it. And Philip Daigle worked a lot on in the Enhanced Edition and bringing it forward, letting it play on today's machines, as well as enhancing the user interface and basically making it playable for modern tastes, if that makes sense. Not much was changed. If you want to go back to the full-on old version of Planescape Torment, you can do that. That is an option. You can check mark and be like, I want it just the way the experience was back in 1999 or 2000 or when it came out. The cool thing about Beamdog, which you can find out more about by watching their live streams on Thursday, is that they are working on Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition. Very cool game, came out in 2002. It was, at the time, a very technically challenging game. I remember I had to get a new PC in order to run it. It's not quite so technically challenging now, but the cool thing about Neverwinter Nights is that it is still has a vibrant mod community right now. People using the Aurora Tool set to create modules, persistent servers where there is stories going on all the time. You can embody the game as a dungeon master, as NPCs, and play out a scene, or you can create branching dialogue that is all to your liking. Of course, the single-player story in Neverwinter Nights is exemplary and awesome, and focuses on the city of Neverwinter, like the new MMO, or the newish MMO from our friends Cryptic Studios and Perfect World does. But it tells it from a while ago, from before the Spell Plague. A lot of things have happened since then. So I suggest you check that out. They're working on it very hard. And the cool thing about what they're doing is all of the mods and modifications and things that have improved the game over time will work with the Enhanced Edition. That's right, you won't have any compatibility issues, or at least that's the goal, as Trent Oster, the president and CEO, I don't know if he's the president, but he's definitely in charge at Beamdog, and he made sure that that was a big priority for them, and they've been working with the community in the Neverwinter Nights mods, making sure that they all work, and had a wish list of things that were really cool there. So that wasn't even on my list of things to talk about, Trevor, but I decided to go there. What do you think about that?
Good.
Good. That's right.
Just now got you a Neverwinter video.
Oh, not a video? We're going to play a video. Let's do it. Is it long? Is it too long? Or is it...
You can talk.
All right, I'll keep talking. All right, so what should we go to next? Well, let's talk about Neverwinter, the Lost City of Omou. Or no, this is it, the Neverwinter Nights video. Ooh, I haven't even seen this. It is...
Puzzle room.
Puzzle room. And we're loading an area. Oh,
Some fighting.
there's some fighting. Yeah, so as you can see, it's a little bit more visually enhanced than Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate's 2, that era of games. But this is a, it looks like a custom module too that they're playing through there. That might be some of the single player stuff. What? Ah, this is the Aurora Tool set and how you can play, move things around. It kind of was a breakthrough at the time to be able to give those tools to the fans to be able to play around, move it, change it, paint with it almost. You can see some of these techniques being used in games like Minecraft or Disney Infinity, if your kids played any of that. This is the first time, to my knowledge, that this level of tool set was given to players, unless you go as far back as a racing construction set. Anybody remember that from the Commodore 64 days? I remember that because you would set the gravity to whatever you wanted. So I used to do it on the Moon IO, which had no gravity at all. So you'd do this ramp, and then your car would be disappeared for about 30 seconds, and then poof, it would come down, and 6-year-old me thought that was very funny, and I would do it over and over and over again. So you can do that in Neverwinter Nights too, Enhanced Edition. Check it out. All right, that's enough of that. Neverwinter Lost City of Omou was announced. That is a new not mini expansion, it's an expansion continuing the storyline of Tomb of Annihilation. They have gone with a couple of updates, and now this is the conclusion of that story arc. It will be on PC on February 27th. It will come to Xbox One, PS4 soon after that. Everyone high level will be able to embark upon the new story and travel to the Lost City of Omou, which may look something like this. Or completely different, because it's Neverwinter, you never know. But that was the source material, and it's really cool that you're able to play in that MMO space, while also being able to play it in a tabletop space and get everybody in that same storytelling zone. I think that's really cool. So go check that out when it comes out next month. And for you Xbox One and PS4 players, it should be just right around the corner. They've gotten really good about releasing that content 2 or 3 weeks after it is released on PC. And you can look forward to that. And they'll be announcing exactly when that date will be in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so a couple cool articles came out this week about Dungeons & Dragons. One of them I wanted to highlight for you was on Sci-Fi Wire, which is a really cool publication, actually run by the people who run the Sci-Fi channel, but they've been doing lots of other stuff recently. And this one's called From Tabletop to Theater, How Improv Groups Are Bringing Dungeons & Dragons to the Stage. And if you are a listener of Dragon Talk, or you've heard me mention me being a theater major a couple of times here on this here channel, this definitely tickled my funny bone, and it's not just the streaming shows that you're talking about, they obviously blend performance and show, so like Dice Camera Action that you're going to start in just about 15 minutes, has elements of improv in it, but this is more theater-based, so you can go buy a ticket to, they're usually smaller, like black box theaters in major cities, like New York City is one group they talk about. Honestly enough, the one that they talk about it's called The Campaign, and it is at the People's Improv Theater Loft. All right, and I didn't recognize that name, whatever. I saw a image of the People's Improv Theater Loft, and I'm pretty sure I did a performance there. Or I produced a show that went on there. It was called Christmas with the Flamingos. It was one of the mistakes of my producing career. I think there was a performance where I think 2 people showed up. And the actors, there were only 4 of them, but they outnumbered the audience. That's the only time that's ever happened in my producing career, and it was terrible. So I don't really enjoy the fact that, but it's cool that I was like, oh, I know that space. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to do something like that there. And they profile why improv comedians and theater were attracted to what the tools of Dungeons & Dragons or role-playing games in general. And a lot of them hadn't played Dungeons & Dragons before. Some of them were fans. This one in particular, I thought was really cool that they had seen people playing Dungeons & Dragons in a game store and wanted to find out a little bit more about it, and picked up randomly I think it was the Dungeon Master's Guide 2 from 4th edition, and in there it said that one of the rules of improv, both in comedy and in Dungeons & Dragons, is the concept of when a player says something, you respond with yes, and I'm going to build on it by saying something else. So that whole rule of yes and is something that improv is based upon, and the person who saw that was like, that is amazing, and now I think this might be the seed of an improv show that they're going to do kind of semi-regularly. So the campaign was born out of that. There is also a profile of a group from Pittsburgh, as well as a group, I believe, in some other place. Oh, these were printed on the back. That's why it's coming. I printed it out so I would be able to reference it quickly, but you know what? I'm not as good at it. Oh, Knights of the Arcade is the group in Pittsburgh, and the other one is, God, oh, whatever. What? There's tons of them, and they're spreading. And I'm sure with an article like this, there will be more folks who are doing something like this. And as a host of Dragon Talk now, I'm totally just taking this article for being people that I want to talk to on the podcast and get them to tell me about their stories a little bit more. And yes, and here's an image of one of those groups. I think that is the one from the People's Improv Theater in New York City, and it's pretty cool. So if you want to read more about their performance, you linked it in the chat. Trevor's got it in the chat. Read about it. It's some pretty cool stuff. Cool. Dorks and Dungeons in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. They do something like that too? Stabby Rogue? No way. That's pretty cool. And What the Cuss, you want to play with Vin Diesel. I know. Doesn't everybody want to play with Vin Diesel? Not really. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of a player he is necessarily. I mean, I saw his turn with Matthew Mercer on Diesel. If you haven't seen that video, you totally should. It's made in the last year or two when he was promoting, God, what was the movie he was promoting? The
Last Witch Hunter?
Last Witch Hunter, yes, The Last Witch Hunter, correct. Definitely seemed like a fun guy. Would have loved to enjoyed it, but you know, I don't know if he's the kind of role-playing player. I don't know. We'll have to see. But he's not definitely not my top on the list. I don't even know what the top of my list of people to play with, but probably it's a secret to everyone who that is. And thank you, S. Del Castillo, for the Lady of Pain shirt. Again, I got this, and I'm excited. I like to lord it over people who enjoy the Lady of Pain, if you know what I mean. There's something great about being a masochist and then wanting to have that shirt in front of everyone. It's good stuff. So another cool article that came down the pipe this week was from our friends at Geek Dad. They wrote about 5 reasons why Tomb of Annihilation should be your next D&D adventure. And I thought this was a really cool breakdown of what was strong about that adventure, and you know, obviously some things to work at, but the questions were a good way to kind of frame it for people who are looking for published adventures that they might want to run. And so the one that the author, Simon Ewell, talks about, will I be interested in this story and will my players have fun? That's always a good question to ask. And he writes, for me, this is a firm yes. They've gone all out in making Tomb of Annihilation a fun, funny, and exciting adventure. The story drops the player characters in the mysterious land of Chult, a tropical island complete with jungles, volcanoes, pirates, ancient monuments, and strange native inhabitants. And I couldn't say it better for myself. That is one of the great selling points of this. And it goes to an area, Chult, that you don't get to see very much, so that is very cool. How easy is it to DM with the material given? And we've heard this criticism a lot. I know it takes a lot. It's a very detail-oriented and all that, but that's where some things like these maps come in handy. I'm going to keep throwing them out there because I just think they're amazing. To be able to help with tracking where your people are and where they're going from place to place. That's part of it. As well as I spoke to Jeremy Crawford on Dragon Talk yesterday for a Sage Advice segment that we'll be dropping on the podcast very soon. And he mentioned encounter building and things like that, but it is really just about a flow chart can really help, and we provided that with Storm King's Thunder, I think, as well as in Tomb of Annihilation, and that kind of conceptualizes where all the missing parts is. When you're doing a sandbox campaign, it can be a little bit hard to keep track of what happens where without keeping that all in your head, and so taking good notes as well as good maps is a good part of that. So what is the best bit? And this is the part that I like to talk about, of course. But the highlights of this book include encounters with zombie-spewing undead Tyrannosaurus Rexes, the Goblin Batiri Battlestack Warriors, dinosaur racing in Port Nyanzaru, bargaining with Ras Nisi in the Yuan Ti Temple, and interactions with the 9 trickster gods of Omou. They'll also be able to meet some well-known faces from the Forgotten Realms, including Volo himself, Artis Cimber, and of course, a Sararek. And you get to meet him, hang out, have some drinks with a Sararek. You never know. Maybe he's a teetotaler. Probably is. That makes total sense now that I think about it. But if he does drink, I think it goes right through him. I mean, he's just breaking the seal constantly, and you're like, come on, buddy. You got to go to the bathroom again? You just went 5 minutes ago. But I like that, and I think Chris Perkins has leaned into the idea of there being these major named characters by showing them off on Dice Camera Action over the last few months. We've got to meet Artis Cimber, we've got to meet Volo, and of course, the big bad that everyone knows from Tomb of Horrors as well as from Tomb of Annihilation, Sararek. So that's some cool stuff. And I would love people to weave in more stories and characters from other D&D sources. You know, why can't Venger show up? You know, why not? Why not Stool from Out of the Abyss? Maybe he just pops out Mike and Nid style and is like, hey, what's up? I'm a sprout. Maybe I didn't die all the time. Also, yeah, I don't know. Overall, they give a pretty good thumbs up to Tomb of Annihilation, which we love, and thank you so much, Geek Dad and Simon Ewell, for writing that this time. Go check it out. I think there's a link in the chat itself to where you can read that yourself. It is good stuff. And Slit518, does Tomb of Annihilation contain a large murder dungeon? I'm not sure if it's a murder dungeon, but it is a dungeon when many people are murdered. If that makes sense. Yes, it does have a large dungeon at the end, and it is not undangerous. How's that for a turn of phrase, people? Anyway, some other fun stuff that you should know about before I kick it over to Chris is Dragon Plus. The latest issue has been out for a while now. They have a map of the Tomb of 9 Gods. If you're interested in checking that out, you can do that on the Dragon Plus app. You can download that on your phone. You can download it for your tablet, like this. You can also just look at it on the web on dragonmag.com. New issues come out every 2 months. They are great resources for what products are going on, the thought behind the design of it. There's some great fiction that is in there, that is in the world, written by both our writers as well as some freelance authors. The map of the month is always a good resource for folks who just want to get the visual image of those maps, putting it into virtual tabletops like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, things like that. That's a great resource for that. So check it out if you haven't already. Dragon Plus is available for free. It doesn't cost a dime. And you can get all that information on dragonmag.com as well. So shout out to Bart Carroll, who just did his Dragon Plus show from 2 to 3 p.m. Go watch that if you haven't already. But he highlights a lot of the fun stuff that is going on with that magazine that he kind of heads up, as well as getting some insight of what's going on with the Dungeons & Dragons team. So Planeshift Ixalan also came out very recently. Ixalan is a magic property. That's right. It is from the world of magic. Some of the other fun folks who work creatively in this very building where I am broadcasting from. And James Wyatt, who is on both the Dungeons & Dragons team of yore and is now on the Magic Story team, he creates these documents called Plane Shift. And they take all of the world-building material that is in Art of Magic books for each one of the sets they put out and converts it into Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules sets. It's really cool material, stuff that you can bring into 5th edition if you want to play in the Magic universe. That's how you would do it, the best resources that you have for it right now. But it's also just great ideas to steal to put into your game. Ixalan has got some really fun stuff, and some of it dovetails really nicely with what's going on in Chult, such as there's pirates, there's dinosaur riders, there's merfolk, there are vampire conquistadors. So there's lots of fun stuff. Like I said, it's kind of in the same kind of vein as the jungle exploration, swashbuckling feel that is going on in Chult. So be fun to kind of infect your game with some of this IP, as well as maybe infect your home game with it too. A lot of fun stuff to check out. Lore Maiden, thank you so much for subscribing via Twitch Prime. That's the way I subscribe too. You and me, we're in the same wavelength right there. Thank you for that. Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms is a game that's available from Codename Entertainment. Oh, I didn't realize how late we are. We actually are pretty late. So I'm going to wrap it up. You should go check out Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. They got some really good stuff coming up, some good events if you've been following them. If you haven't, they're available on early access on Steam right now. And go check it out if you're interested for a light touch D&D game. Lets you interact with our stories and our characters in gameplay that can only take a couple minutes if you want, or you can delve in and spend a lot more time. But that's what an Idle Champions game is all about. We're going to take a quick break here before we get Chris started over in the other studio with Dice Camera Action. Thank you to everybody who subscribed over this course of this half hour. You are my friends. I like it very much. I want to talk to you more on a weekly basis. I'm here basically 3:30ish to 4 p.m. when we start Dice Camera Action. You can follow me. I'm at Greg Tito. Ask me anything you want. If you have any ideas for Dragon Talk, vice versa. Always, if you want to find out more about Dungeons & Dragons, go to dungeonsanddragons.com or follow them on Twitter, us on Twitter. Follow Trevor, who does it on Twitter, wizards_DND. Instagram, we've been posting a lot on Instagram too. And what is that? Is that also wizards_DND?
That one's D&D Wizards.
D&D Wizards on Instagram. Trevor's been posting a lot of fun stuff on that, including some videos. So go check that out. I'm also on Instagram too, Greg_Tito. Good stuff. If you have subscribed, you will not watch these ads. If you have not subscribed, you will watch these ads that will be going right now, and then we'll go right in to the intro for Dice Camera Action. Have a good time, you guys. I'll see you again next week for more D&D news.